let's look at how each attachment style show up in interaction. So I'll go over how their texting habit is, how their conflict resolution is, and also how they express love. Hey y'all, welcome to the From Surviving to Thriving podcast. You know, the place where we take the veil off and pull the curtains back on our everyday lives. I'm your host, Jackie. In today's episode, we'll be diving into a fascinating and deeply personal topic. How your attachment style, the emotional blueprint that's shaped during our childhood, how that affects our relationships as adults. Since February is the month of love, I figured this would be a good time to focus on those topics that help us to understand relationships and partners and dating and things like that. So that series will kick off with this episode about our attachment style and how it affects our adult relationships. Whether those relationships are romantic or platonic, attachment styles influence how we connect with people, how we communicate, and how we respond to the people closest to us. Have you ever wondered why you fear rejection, or you crave constant reassurance, or you just feel uncomfortable with emotional intimacy? Or you may have noticed some patterns in your friendships. Some of them thrive while others drift apart. A lot of these patterns often tie back to our attachment styles. So grab a cup of something, settle in, and let's uncover how attachment styles shape our connections and how we can use this knowledge to create stronger, healthier relationships. So let's jump right in and take a look at a quick overview of attachment styles. Since it is February and we're talking about these attachment styles, let's look at how each attachment style show up in interaction. So I'll go over how their texting habit is, how their conflict resolution is, and also how they express love. Someone with a secure attachment style, their texting habits tend to be consistent without a sense of neediness. They're comfortable with giving and receiving space, and if their partner don't reply right away, they assume the best intention from their partner. Their texts are typically warm, supportive, and balanced. They're open to discussing issues without resorting to blame or defensiveness. They're also willing to compromise and find solutions that works for both parties. And they're comfortable expressing their emotions and hearing the other person's perspective. When it comes to expressing their love, they're clear, they're consistent, and straightforward in showing love and care. They're affectionate through their words and their actions, such as thoughtful gestures or spending quality time. They trust their partner's love, and they don't feel the need for constant reassurance. When it comes to anxious attachment styles, their texting habit tends to be more frequent, often needing assurance and attention. They may overanalyze delayed responses and may read too much into short replies. They may double text or triple text or apologize excessively, even when it's not necessary. When it comes to conflict resolution, they tend to be highly emotional, often fearing rejection or abandonment. They may become clingy or overly apologetic to avoid losing a relationship. They sometimes escalate small issues into bigger ones due to underlying fear. The way that they express their love is that they express their love intensely and frequently, often needing validation in return. They tend to use a lot of verbal affirmations and seek constant reassurance. They're typically the ones that if their partner hasn't responded to a message quickly, they're following up their text with, "Did I do something wrong?" Or "Are you mad at me? What's going on?" When it comes to avoidant attachment style, Their texting habits often look like minimal communication. They typically prefer short messages over long emotional ones. They may even delay the response to their text messages just so that they don't appear to be too close or obligated. And they sometimes tend to forget to respond, which seems to be dismissive. When it comes to conflict resolution, the avoidant attachment style tries to avoid communication or emotional discussions at all costs. They oftentimes shut down or withdraw altogether from arguments. They're the ones that would rather wait it out, let it blow over, and then come back to the relationship instead of actually dealing with the issue. They're the ones that typically say things like, it's not a big deal, or let's just move on, let it go, which is just an avoidant behavior from having to deal with the issue itself. When it comes to expressing their love, avoidant attachment styles tend to express their love through actions. So they're the types that will fix something for you or provide something for you instead of expressing it through words. They may also seem uncomfortable when it comes to having deep emotional conversations, and they most often keep an emotional distance so that they don't have to feel vulnerable. When it comes to the disorganized attachment style, this is me, guys. Their texting style tends to be inconsistent. Sometimes it's overly eager, other times it's oftentimes distant. They may send an emotional message and then regret and retract it later. They may ghost someone for a while and then suddenly reappear, trying to seek that connection back. When it comes to conflict resolution, they tend to react unpredictably during arguments. They may swing between anger, withdrawal, and an intense need to repair the relationship. Because they fear both intimacy and abandonment, they're typically always sending mixed signals. They oftentimes struggle to regulate their emotions, which will usually only escalate arguments. When it comes to expressing their love, the confusion continues. They can express their love intensely in one moment, but push the other person away in the next. When they show affection, it can seem erratic or overly dependent. Their expression of love may come with some underlying fear, where they love you, but at the same time, they're afraid that you'll leave them. They're the ones that after an argument, they'll send a text message that says, I don't need you, I don't want your help, I don't want you in my life no more. But then after sitting down and thinking about things, they may send a message that says, I don't know what I would do without you in my life. It's that confusion. It just continues. Now that we know how these attachment styles interact, let's discuss how the different attachment styles interact with each other. So your partner may be an anxious and you may be an avoidant. So let's see how those two would interact with each other. I'll give you a couple of examples, and if you're interested in knowing how you and your partner interact, like if you've identified your attachment styles and you want to know how those two work together, leave a comment and let me know what your attachment styles are, and I will share how the two interact with each other. So the first one we're going to look at is anxious and avoidant. This is a common pairing, and the term that is used to describe this pairing is anxious avoidant trap. In this pairing, both parties trigger each other's fears and insecurities. The anxious partner is craving emotional closeness and constant reassurance, where the avoidant partner values their independence and feels overwhelmed by the anxious partner's neediness. The anxious partner is seeking closeness, but the avoidant partner is withdrawing, which makes the anxious partner even more insecure and clingy. This parent often leads to frustration on both sides because the anxious partner is feeling rejected and the avoidant partner is feeling smothered. When it comes to a secure and an anxious attachment, the secure partner can provide a sense of security and stability that the anxious partner needs. This parent has a lot of potential to be successful as long as the anxious partner is willing to work on their fears. When an anxious partner is with a secure partner, that secure partner is emotionally available, present, and consistent, which is exactly what that anxious partner needs. In the beginning, the anxious partner may seek that reassurance, but the fact that the secure partner is consistent with their communication and is willing to provide that to that anxious partner, over time, that anxious partner will realize and feel a bit more secure in their relationship. When it comes to conflict, that secure partner is willing to work through any problems, sit down and communicate effectively, which is helpful for an anxious partner because they have someone who is going to be open and provide support to them. This relationship pair can be very successful. The secure partner can help the anxious partner grow and develop into a much more healthier attachment style. The anxious partner, however, still needs to work on those insecurities because they don't want to overburden that secure partner with those issues. When it comes to the disorganized attachment style, regardless of who they get paired with, because they're a mixture of avoidant and anxious, it's usually very hard for them to be successful in a relationship unless they have gone and done the work, whether it's healing themselves or have gone to therapy to deal with any of those unresolved issues that they've had. If they are attached to a secure partner, it will be helpful to their healing journey, but the disorganized person must be willing to work on their insecurities in order for that relationship to work. As I wrap up this episode today, let's take a moment to reflect back on the attachment styles that we discussed and how they show up in our adult relationships. Understanding attachment styles gives us powerful insight into how we connect with people, both romantically and platonically. It's not just about recognizing patterns in our relationships or our behaviors. It's about gaining some self-awareness, building compassion for others, and creating healthier, more fulfilling connections. One of the most important things that we should take away from this is that our attachment style is not permanent. We're able to move into a more secure attachment style as long as we're willing to do the work, self-reflect, and sometimes even go to therapy. Taking small steps like practicing open communication, setting boundaries, or seeking support from secure relationships can make a huge difference. Understanding other people's attachment style will help us to respond to them with much more empathy, and it'll just allow us to understand how to navigate relationships overall with patience and a little bit more care. Since we are in February and relationships is top of mind, this is a good time to take some time to reflect on how your attachment style shows up in your romantic and your platonic relationships. Are there any patterns that you notice about yourself? Are there any areas that you feel that you can grow? Or have you even identified your attachment style? If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If it really made an impact on you, don't forget to leave that 5-star rating. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next episode.